Coming up on Business Live tonight, telecoms giant MTN says it would explore available options after an Accra High Court quashed its application for review of significant market player tagged by the NCA. We'll be explaining to you what this is all about. Ghana Air Service justifies $150 charge for compulsory antigen test for air passengers arriving in the country. And Ghana Statistical Service says second quarter of next year to conduct national census. I'm Israel Lai. Details after this break. Telecoms giant MTN says it will explore all available options after an Accra High Court on Tuesday dismissed its application seeking to quash a directive by the NCA to classify it as a significant market player in the telecommunications industry. My colleague George Jaffe has been going through a statement by MTN and has this update.
According to MTN, despite the concerns raised, it still has full confidence in the country's judiciary. Added that having had their day in court, they would want to refrain from making further statements and comment on the matter at this moment, whilst it looks at the next step available to them. It noted that it acknowledges the duty and powers of the National Communications Authority to promote fair competition among licensed operators in the sector. But however, insists that MTN challenge was on procedural grounds, maintaining that the National Communications Authority's decision lacked fairness. The High Court of Justice Commercial Court Division on September 1 dismissed MTN's application for a judicial review of the declaration of it as a significant market player. Well, it is however not clear for now whether the telecoms giant is going to appeal, even though it has shown some clear signs that it is not satisfied with the ruling. The telecoms giant in its media review noted that the new regulation, if implemented, will significantly affect its profit, growth, and also affect some services that it offers to the public.
Okusia Piadomako, Center Coordinator for CAT International, joins us with some perspective on this market situation. Thank you very much, Mr. Adomako. Now, when MTN says it would explore options, what options do you suggest? But before then, let me ask this question. Why should it matter to anybody when NCA says that MTN is a significant market player and so it is seeking to break it apart?
Thank you very much, Israel. I think MTN has been described as a significant market player based on the Electronic Communications Act of 2008. The law states that when a service provider gets to a certain threshold, then you've gone beyond the level whereby we should allow the market forces to determine how you price your things. So when you get to that level, then you are subjected to a regulation. So, for example, if you look at the public utilities, electricity and water, their prices are regulated because there is no competition between ECG or other providers of electricity. If we were to allow ECG to price its prices, what it means is that ECG can charge monopoly prices. They can charge excessive prices. So we have an intermediary, which is the regulator, PURC, which regulates the pricing of utility products in this country. Now, before MTN reached a significant market player, that time the regulator, the NCA, had nothing to do about it because this is a free market. However, we have what we call market failures and other externalities. So whenever a market tips to a certain point, then a regulator needs to come in to do some form of regulation to ensure that they are able to clear and make the level playing field even for everybody, so that other players in the industry, that is Airtel, Tigo, Vodafone Ghana, and even consumers, will not suffer unduly, because when a firm has a dominance, a firm can abuse their dominance. I'm not saying that MTN is abusing its dominance, but there's a lot of evidence worldwide to show that when firms have this dominance, then they tend to abuse it. So what regulators do is to ensure that they kind of place certain caps on how you charge some of your services, so that the interoperability and interconnectivity will be able to function smoothly.
Right, so from what you're saying, this should benefit the consumer.
it should benefit the consumer. It should also benefit other providers. But I think that for me also, I also hold a balanced view that we also need to be very fair to MTN, because MTN reached where it is now, not through any unfair business practice, but through investment, foresight, and hard working. And the question that we should also ask ourselves, what has been the level of investment of the other operators that they all, close their investment portfolios in the country and allow MTN, because MTN believes in the market. And it's like examination. Somebody believes that if I learn hard, I can get an A. And somebody wants 45% or 45, all pass be passed. So if the person gets 40, he's fine. So at the end of the day, it will be also unfair to say that, look, those who got 90, let's give some of your marks to those who had below 40 so that they can pass. I think the regulator also needs to have a two-edged sword. One, also telling other firms, the other players, to also step up their investment, their R&D, because even if they allow this, they come up with the measures, and then the other service providers do not step up their investment in the sector, in about 5 years or 4 years from now, we'll come back to the same conversation. So I think that the licensing agreement that the regulator gives to the providers, they need to ensure and monitor that they do investment in the country. I also blame our own government, because, for example, when you look at the Vodafone Ghana, government of Ghana has a share in it. And since the government sold it to Vodafone and keeping it, the government has not made any substantial investment into Vodafone. So if government had also invested in it, perhaps we would not be having this conversation. So I think we need to be very balanced in this issue.
All right. What are the options available to MTN?
I think MTN, of course, the Constitution allows everybody the right to go to appeal, which is also their right to do so. But I think that the best option for me, if MTN were to seek my unsolicited opinion, I'll ask MTN to go back and dialogue with the regulator, because at the end of the day, they will still be the one who will be holding the regulatory, gavel on you. So you can go back and, back and forth, agree and come to a conclusion, so that your share prices, will not go down, because in some markets, some of these things can easily cause your share price to fall down. Here, markets are not that sensitive. But I think that negotiation and dialogue is the way to go.
How much of all of this has to do with somebody deciding to come after MTN?
I do not share in that argument, because this is, it's a threshold. So, for example, if you go to hospital, the doctor will not say that, look, Israel, because you sit on television station, you must be having a high blood pressure. When your blood pressure is, let's say, 110/70, do you get it? There's a way of measuring blood pressure, and there's a standard. There's a categories that classify someone as as hypertensive. And so the fact that MTN has made that definition, that criteria, it qualifies to be called a significant player, SMP. But the big issue is this: MTN attained this new category long time, not this year, many years ago. So what was the Ministry of Communications and the regulator doing that they kept quiet and allow MTN to grow and grow and grow and grow to this level? Now you want MTN to shared weight, which for me, you are also not being fair to the person. If you're a medical doctor and a patient comes to you on a regular basis, and you see that the person is increasing body mass index, weight, you don't wait for the person to get to, the danger zone and ask the person to shed, let's say, 80 kg within a period of 2 months. When you do so, you cause more damage to the body. Yeah. So I think that the regulator is supposed to have taken this action long ago. In that way, it wouldn't have been so substantial to MTN to manage. But right. I think that it's better late than never. And we have best practices worldwide where regulators have taken these measures to restore a level playing field for both consumers and other competitors in the market. All
right, thank you very much. Kwesi Appiah-Adomako is Center Coordinator at CAT International. Of course, the other option is for MTN to also pursue the legal route. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boakye, has justified the $150 charge for the compulsory antigen test for air passengers arriving in the country. Speaking at the Ministry of Information news briefing, Dr. Kumar-Boakye explained that the quest for accurate COVID-19 test results account for the charge.
To you that where people are using PCR and they are charging, I hear Egypt is $30, some are $75, you will need to go to your hotel for a day or two to wait for your results. And so you have to put all that in the cost. And for someone, a new equipment like that, you expect that the cost build-up is not going to be easy. But even in that, you realize that it's still relatively cheap. I'll give you an example. Someone wants to know how many people were tested on the first day. We had about 217 or so from 3 flights that came in. There was a group that had even given me a letter requesting that as for them, they have booked for quarantine. They want to go into quarantine. But when they got there, we realized that a significant number of them had done their PCR on arrival. They opted to wait and go back and do the lab, the antigen test, or the virus, which is still a virus test, so that they can go home. Because you can look at the cost benefits. That is really not as exorbitant. So that, and we've also not had any significant protest from anybody who feels that the cost is expensive. So the cost is more about the value of what we are providing at top speed and high quality, sensitive result that gives you what we all expect. Because the ultimate goal for the country is to ensure that we don't import any new virus into that. All our problems started because everything that came here was imported and it gave us a lot of problems. So that is what it is. If you ask a passenger, he's talking about when he got down to when he got out. You fill your declaration form, you go and pay, go and do the test. The test itself takes, once the sample is put in the machine, it takes maximum 12 minutes. But you need to talk about that, including going for your results. And so those who said they spend 30 minutes, that's very, very short, I can assure you, because they have several steps that you have to go through, including going through Port Health to get clear, go to check your, to make sure that.
Well, some players in the travel and tour industry are beaming with confidence that the sector will rebound. This follows the opening of the Kotoka International Airport to international travels and arrivals. They tell Joy Business, though activities have been very slow in the last 4 months, business would pick up, particularly in the last quarter of this year, running into next year. One such is CEO of Moontouch Travel and Tours, Radia Adamu. She joins us via Zoom. Thank you very much, Radia. Now, how are you working your way back to business following the resumption of international flights?
Hi, good evening to our viewers. Actually, we are very glad that the airport has been finally opened. And we're also very glad about the safety protocols the government has put in place, which includes the rapid test of the virus at the airports. However, at the moment, business would start slowly and gradually it would escalate. The reason is that potential passengers, or let me say prospects, have actually started contacting us about fares to check tickets for them and all that. But this is a very difficult moment where you actually need to profile your passengers. In the first place, the fact that Ghana airport is opened or our borders are open does not mean that every country is opened. And when you look at travels, it takes 2 airports to make a travel, your departure airport and your destination airport. And so there are some people that have just heard the airport is open and they just instantly want to travel to certain destinations, which they have no idea whether the airport there is open or not. And so when people contact us, we first ask them, where you want to travel to, is the airport opened? You have to draw their attention to that. Because if you sell tickets to them and they are unable to go, right now it's very difficult to go through refund processes with the airlines. And so we are very careful with those kind of options. And secondly, most airports that are actually open now in certain countries have certain restrictions. They don't allow every nationals into their country. And we're also hoping that Ghana government could have actually employed that method, just like the way he is actually restricting, easing the restriction on education slowly. we expected that on the aviation and travel industry, that would have been done as well. So opening our borders to every national to come in is a bit dangerous, to be very honest. We should have looked at the very high-risk countries, the red flag countries for COVID-19, and wouldn't allow them into our country for now. Except, of course, the Ghanaian citizens that are staying in those countries that need to come home, then those people could come. But even with them, there should have been extra measures to take in place to allow them back home. But all in all, it's been good so far.
Yeah.
People are happy. People are happy to come back home. People are happy to travel. People have been holding on tickets for several months, and they're happy to go on travels now.
Now, Radia, it's very interesting that for someone who depends on a lot of people coming into the country, you're actually saying that you wish that there would have been some restrictions. But I'll come to you also on the issue of the $150 charge for arriving passengers to get your opinion on it. But let's also check in with the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Nyameke Jr. He's the president. He also joins us via Zoom. Now, are you as upbeat as the travel and tour operators?
Hi, Israel. Yes, we are indeed. And the opening of the international airport, that's Kotoka, is a welcome news to the hotel subsector. Indeed, if for nothing, it's a huge psychological boost to our app market members. In fact, in the heat of the pandemic, a lot of the app market hotels had to shut down because they depend a lot on international visitors. That's the majority of their patronage base. So with the opening of the border, the airport, as Rakia said, you see, we do not expect business to start booming anytime soon. It will have to take some gradual process, but at least the mere fact that that airport has been opened, it gives us the hope that in some few weeks, months, or probably early next year, business may come back to normal, just as it was pre-COVID-19.
All right, so any progress with the stimulus package for your members that was mooted?
I was hoping we didn't have to touch on stimulus package, but Israel, unfortunately, I wish I could say yes, everything is on course, but unfortunately, we are yet to receive anything from the stimulus package. We are yet to do that, and it's unfortunate because 3 months since the NBSSI disbursement application started, and 6 months into the pandemic. I think it's been very rough with the industry, and we are hoping against hope. And with the opening of the airport, what it means is that if the app market hotel starts getting businesses, that means it's going to trickle down to the other categories, the lower categories as well. And this is the time that even the hoteliers will need some injection of funds. Because you see, some of the rooms or some of the public places in the hotel facilities have been laid idle for quite some time now. It will take some money to bring them back to operational level. There will be the need to check our plumbing services, check even electrical gadgets, and all those things. And that will also take some cash inflows.
All right.
But where the cash? The cash is not there. And we're hoping that the stimulus package will help with that. And Israel, before you go, you see, even with our workers, I hear people talking about the hotels have started recruiting. They are not recruiting. No hotel is recruiting. They have staff who have been temporarily laid off, waiting for the opportunity to get back to work.
To be recalled, yeah.
The opening of the border, we can get some of these staff back to get back home to work. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Edward Aka Nyameke. Now, I want to go back to Radia. Radia, I just want to pick your quick thoughts on the $150 charge being charged for arriving passengers at the Kotoka International Airport. There's some who are saying that it's too much. What do you think?
I actually understand those that think that it's too much because they try to compare it to places like Dubai, Rwanda, which are charging a little bit below $100. But when you look at the full scope of it, you realize that there are several countries that have also charged even more than the 150 USD. For instance, London Heathrow charges about 200 USD. Even our neighbor right here, Benin Airport takes 165 USD. And
except let me just quickly point out, in the case of Benin, so there are 2 PCR tests. 2 PCR tests, actually.
Right. For me, I actually think that 150 USD it's reasonable when you compare it to 2 weeks quarantine in such expensive hotels. Because what main challenge people had was to come home and be quarantined in a hotel for 2 weeks. The bills were just extremely high. And so even though we were actually expecting that the rapid test would have cost a bit lower, but all the same, many passengers prefer the fact that they have to pay 150 USD on arrival rather than having to pay thousands of dollars to sleep in hotel for 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you very much, Radia Damu, for your insights. And now, before we go, the Ghana Statistical Service has set the second quarter of next year to conduct the much anticipated national census. The census is expected to capture an estimated population of about 30 million Ghanaians. Joy Business Fred Duho engaged the Director of Census and Survey, Abna Ose-Akoto, and has more in this report.
The Director of Census and Survey at the Ghana Statistical Service says her outfit is getting ready to conduct the population and housing census in the first quarter of next year.
Yes, it is going to come on for sure, but not necessarily just 2020 because of COVID-19. So we are planning that it comes off in 2021, God willing. And our preparations are all towards 2021.
2021, which month specifically are we looking at?
Hopefully the second quarter of 2021. But we need the steering committee to affirm the date.
She indicated that online recruitment is currently ongoing and graduates across the country should take advantage and apply. The Director of Census also said the service is hoping to recruit over 75,000 enumerators to work on the field.
We opened our recruitment platform. It's an online recruitment platform. This was opened earlier in the year, around February 2020. This was basically opened for the enumerators and supervisors. We would require trainers at different levels.
So in all, how many enumerators are you hoping to recruit for this particular census?
No, we are looking at recruiting about 75,000 enumerators and supervisors.
Touching on the budget allocation for the exercise, she stated that COVID-19 has caused an upward review of the budget to cater for safety protocols.
We have some funding gap. We were budgeted for, the government has made provision, but the COVID has come up with its attendant problems, and we need to revise our budget.
Are we looking at a downward revision, or is going to go up?
The revision will go up because now we have to observe all the COVID protocols. We need to look at having sanitizers.
Currently, how much is the budget, and what is the expected amount by which we think it can go up?
We're dealing with about 72 million. So when we convert, it comes to about $477.
$72 million, which comes to in excess of 400 million Ghana cedis.
The state agency is hopeful of meeting its target of counting 30 million citizens with the deployment of technology in this activity. Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
That's another be it for Business Live. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Make it at the same time tomorrow.